Welcome, everyone, to the From the Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Shane Grove. And before we get started with this week's episode, I just want to remind everybody that if you cannot get enough of the From the Shadows podcast, you can find us at FromTheShadowsPodcast.com. And from there, there's social media links to everything, our Facebook, our TikTok, our X, our Instagram. I don't even know. There might be something I forgot. I think you can go to our store. You can go to Patreon, whatever. But the most important thing is if you have a story that you want to share, go hit the contact button, send me an email, and I would love to hear it. And I'd love for you to come on the show and share your experience. And if you want to get a hold of me directly, you can find me on Instagram at Shane Grove Author. I'll answer you back. I should. Or at least Nita will tell me that I should if it piles up, and I'll answer anything on Facebook too. So I try to be pretty good about that. So with that being said, I'm pretty excited about today, this morning, wherever you're listening, what time's guest. She's got some fantastic stories that we're going to hear. We're going to hear just a little bit of them today. So buckle up, get an extra, hit pause, get another cup of coffee if you need it, because we're going to go on a ride. So joining us is Amelia normally from deep in the heart of Texas, but you're on the East Coast right now. Her heart belongs to Texas, everybody. So, Amelia, welcome to the From the Shadows podcast.
I'm honored to be here, Shane.
Well, it's my honor to have you on. So, we kind of connected on Instagram, and once I started wading through just the pictures and the videos and everything that you've got, we decided we'd start out talking about your Dogman werewolf experiences because they're pretty crazy. So I'll let you tell everybody how crazy they are.
Atrociously crazy. Oh, well, I've had several encounters. So born in Texas, mostly raised, grew up on farms, very poor family. And we moved all over the place, Louisiana swamps, Oregon, Washington, a little bit New England, New Mexico, but we always went back to Texas. We had a lot of strange experiences growing up because I was bottle feeding calves. I've got pictures of me as a toddler holding a bottle bigger than me. Chickens, our dogs were getting just mauled by coyotes. One time there was over 100 bites on one of them. We would hear strange howls because over in the barn in Elgin, there was always a bottle of whiskey in there because all the men went in there. Bimbo, Dusty, Charlie, you name them. Like they were always in there.
I want to hear more about Bimbo, the guy named Bimbo. That's a great that's a great cowboy. That's a great cowboy name. Farm.
That was his name. He was married to Clennell, and it was my mom's cousin. And fire chief. I was going to be a fire chief as well. I had to deal with the biggest Luecki fires in Texas by my ranch. So that's where all this came up. Now my ranch was in Page, Texas. Okay, this was by Camp Swift. So we had Chinooks and strange stuff, and fires would come into my 5-acre pond and pick up, or the Chinooks would, come in and pick up the water. We had major evacuations. The Luecki fires, if you look it up, were some of the worst. I was on the news. My house was. I was evacuating cattle. Now, this was after a lot of the experiences. So let me start from the beginning. So my husband and daughter and I, my daughter is now, she'll be 17 in November. She was born on Thanksgiving. So this was so we left Austin and moved into a rental house in Cedar Creek, Texas. Great property. It was in the trees, no street lights, dirt road, everything was new. And it was off Highway 71. And I sent you a picture of that. And that's where my exciting was. And so I drive a Ford F-250 Super Duty that I've had since 2013. It's a 2012. So it's big. All right. So I was dealing with so keep note of that. I was dealing with barbed wire all the time, farms, cattle, chickens, quail, geese, eggs, you name it. We knew we wanted a ranch and a home. And so we're in this rental house. We're like looking for land, all from Bastrop towards Louisiana, basically. And right before we moved out of that house and bought raw land, didn't even have a gate. It was all barbed wire. I don't even know how they got their cattle in there. I mean, they would have had to put the cattle on the property. Okay. There was no electricity. There was no plumbing. It had a well, a 250-foot well. That was it, in a tank. So I don't know how they were getting in and out. And what we thought was that they're cutting the wire and just putting it back up, because I've seen that a million times. And because, they didn't need cattle guards, they weren't living there. So, anyways, we're in this rental house and we're ranch land house hunting. Well, one night I'm on my way home. Okay, I'm in my truck. I got floodlights. I've got big bright flashing lights from when I was on call for like the fire department. I mean, it was in my family. They called. I got up. I went and helped. And so one night, it's late. I don't know. It's got to be around 10, maybe later. I'm heading home from Bastrop area on Highway 71 to Cedar Creek, right? And in between on that road, you've got all woodlands, some trailer parks, house here and there. My husband's friend that he went to college with, he was a builder. So he built like $1 million homes everywhere, right? But he was the number one builder in Bastrop against this other guy. So there wasn't that much building going on. I mean, it was very spread out. Texas is huge. And there was turned into a zip line retreat at some point, and all this happened on my right side. So I'm driving down the road in my truck. I look down for a second. I look back up, flipped my brights on. No one else is on the road, okay? Pitch black. We don't have street lights. And as soon as I look up, I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, I'm looking at this and I'm doing like 80. Everybody went really fast. It's Highway 71. The speed limit was like 70. And I see it. I remember this clear as day. I called my husband the second. I'm like fiddling with my phone. I've got all my stuff in the center, coffee, all this stuff. And I'm like, you won't believe what I just saw. I was like, dude, we got like giant wolves. I mean, this thing wasn't a bear, but it was bigger than a bear. And here's what it looked like. So it's barbed wire fence, just the whole, it's Texas. It's everywhere. Okay. Especially in the rural areas. Yeah. So barbed wire fence, it can be up to your neck. It can be up to your belly button. It depends on what kind of land you got and what you got on it. And, its tail, it had a long tail. Okay. It had a long tail and it was huge. I mean, it was just, from that distance, that thing had to be this big. I mean, it was huge, Shane. It was like a dark brown auburn-ish. The tips of the hair, which is crazy. The tips of the hair. I mean, and I'm just like, whoa. But I remember it clear as day because my brights were on. Okay. It's a big truck. It's got big lights.
Mm-hmm.
The tips were a beautiful gold color. It was very bizarre. It's almost like your roots are real dark and then it just fades into this golden highlight. I can't describe it. It was very strange. And its back legs, if you look at a werewolf picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a dog. Okay. It's not like a dog. And when I had first seen it, that thing had crossed, I'm going this way. There's a strip of land, probably a truck length wide, so probably like 6-8 feet. And then it's the opposite 2 lanes going that way, and land and barbed wire that way. that thing had to have crossed right as I'm doing 80, like that's how fast everybody went. We wanted to get home too from working all day. And it had to have just gone like this and just hit my, like, just right when I flipped my brights on, I saw it because it had just got onto the patch of grass between my lane and the barbed wire fence. And then it's just all trees. I mean, it's just all oaks and mesquite and cedar. That's what we had, a lot of that out there. It was a pain. And so it's like it had, right when it hit that grass, it went down on all four. But when it did, it's like it had a big hunchback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't see the head. I just saw from like a like if you go shoulder down on something like that. I mean, it was that big that it was mostly in the light as I'm going fast, and then the shadow. I mean, it was just wild. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like the animals, the cattle. We were also everybody was being paid to kill the hogs. I didn't have any part in that. But if you took in their tails, you would get a certain like bounty for it
Mm-hmm.
because it was getting
Yeah.
so bad in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing crossed from the middle in front of you to the like the right of you down, like, well, there was no ditch. It doesn't sound like. It sounds like it was pretty flat. And
Mhm.
so at some point, the thing that got your attention was it was on two legs before it went down.
Right, right. It's like if okay, so the picture I sent you, that's the highway. You can
Mm-hmm.
see two opposite lanes,
Yep.
patch, my two lanes, patch of grass, barbed wire, trees. When it's pitch black, I had just turned the brights on my
Mm-hmm.
truck. And that's when I saw it. I mean, it was like that. I saw it go down and I mean, it's like right when I looked up, it was going down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
looked at this thing. Like, as I'm going by, I'm like, like driving. I mean, and it was a clear night. There was no rain, nothing, no storms, no fires, nothing. And I was like, that thing is huge because the back of the legs, I was like, there's no way, bears stand up, dogs can do it too. I had a lot of huskies and shepherds in my life. Its lower back, right where that tail started, was above the barbed wire fence.
Mm.
The top of the barbed wire fence. Okay. If this thing would have been standing next to my truck, which is why I was showing you the picture of my truck, its lower back would have been right up at the window. I'm
Jeez.
telling you, like a small cow or like a
Mm-hmm.
medium-sized cow, not like one of my bulls.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big, it wasn't like huge, but it was tall. Its back was up there. And I never really thought anything of it. My husband remembers me calling, like, oh my God, I don't know what that thing was. We started, like, are there brown bears? But then we were like, brown bears don't have big, huge tails. Like my huskies, they had like really big tails that when they weren't curled over and they were down, it was real fluffy in the center and then came down to like a little shaggy point. That's what this looked like.
Well, but the main thing to me is nothing is going to nothing is going to go across the road on two legs and then get down on four. Like
That's
even a person is not going to go on a person might go down and get, but an animal, if they're an animal usually is running across the road
well,
and
that's what
they're
I'm going to talk to you about next.
okay. All right. I'm not running across the road. I'm just going to tell you that. But so yeah, so you see this, what you naturally are not thinking, oh my God, this is a werewolf or anything. You're just thinking it's a
Yeah.
big wolf or
A predator.
yeah,
I'm thinking
some
predator.
sort.
I'm thinking about the
Yeah,
cow. I'm thinking about like the
yeah,
animals.
yeah, yeah,
That's how you're kind of raised in Texas.
yeah. You're not scared of anything. You're just scared for other things because of what my
I'll see the pictures of me holding up the two rattlesnakes when we took down the barn house. I was showing all that. I had my gun. Yeah.
Okay. I don't do snakes, but go
We
ahead.
used to hunt.
I'd almost do werewolves before I do snakes. But see now, if werewolves were cleaning out snakes, then I'd be all about them. I'd be all about them. Be like, save the werewolves. They can take out the snakes.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. I know it's snakes all the time, but this was different. What happened next? So okay, never ever thought anything of it. Like it would come into my mind every trip I took across the country. Because if you like back in 2017, 18, I started traveling the country looking for answers and little things, like I wonder what that was. But I never ever once thought werewolf. I mean, and I can't believe it knowing the things I know now or Dogman.
Mhm.
But well, not long after that, we bought our land. I still have the paperwork. I still have the prints of the whole track layout. I have everything from the Devil House.
That's that, folks, is what we call foreshadowing the Devil House. But we're
Yes. Oh, no place better than From the Shadows. So my husband and I, yeah, we get a realtor through a friend. She lives in the area. Um, it didn't take us long because we were paying cash. So we see a couple of chunks of land. This was 22 acres, my ranch. We went out there. I thought we were going to like get shot or for trespass. And it's Texas. You don't do that because it didn't have gates. And we're all climbing through the barbed wire, the realtor, my husband and I. And I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, it's been on the market for a long time. I'm like, okay, all right. And there were cattle out there at the time. And so it was an ag, all of that, tax exempt, those things. And we walked through the pasture, and then we go through the trees because we wanted trees, a pasture, and a tank. I loved to fish. I loved to swim. It's Texas. It's hot. Everyone loves the stars. It had everything we wanted, even though it was such a rural area. I mean, those roads were dirt, you know, and they weren't maintained very well. And it was all clay. So we flooded all the time, which was a horrible thing that happened later that we think might have something to do with why the dam was broke. So anyway, so we say, okay, let's buy the land. I had a funny feeling about it, but I was just so in the mindset. I wanted to start building my house. I knew it was going to take a while. There was nothing. Again, no electricity poles, no water pipes, no telephone, nothing. We didn't even have internet for the first year or two while we were there. We used hotspots on our phones. And that was rough. But we never had cable. We haven't had cable since 2013. So it wasn't like a huge deal. And my husband would drive to Austin every day before he started working remotely. So, and I homeschooled our daughter. She went to school a little bit, but eventually I started homeschooling her because the schools weren't that great there. A lot of people, almost everyone in the area homeschooled, and they all had some interesting stories coming to find out later. That's for a different time. So um, we buy the land. Immediately, things start to go wrong. We buy the land. We set the posts. I built a lot of it myself later in the build. Our friend who built all these houses, he hired his favorite team and he'd been working with for I don't know how long. He had his own business, building multiple houses, everything. He was amazing. And they all quit the first week. And he called me. Wayne's like, Wayne and Tommy is his wife. He's like, we got to do something about this. I was like, what's going on? Why is everybody quitting? He's like, they're being weird. We're going to have to go up, like 20 more grand to get someone out there to start building it now because we already ordered everything. Everything was dropped off from Lowe's and all these other lumber places, all the framing, all the concrete, all the pipes, the electricity pole. My husband and I put in, and Wayne put in the electricity lines, which was horrible. They're so heavy, trenches, everything over, I don't know, at least probably 300-400 feet of pipe to the well to get water to the house. That was later, but it just, people kept quitting. We finally got a group of really great guys, and it was literally a group of like 5 guys. They were out there. They got the concrete done. They got the frame in and weathered in. We had a lot of bad stuff that kept happening. Well, let's fast forward through a whole bunch of supernatural stuff, okay, which I wrote about in Haunted America and on my website in the Devil House blog. Okay, if anyone wants to jump to that before we talk about it one day. So one night, I come home, and I was coming home from Austin. I'm in my truck, and my husband, it's real dark out. I can't remember. I think the moon might have been out because I remember seeing the glare. It always shined right in the backyard part of the house where the forest was and the creek. We had a big creek, and then on the other side of the house was the big 5-acre tank. It was huge. And we didn't have any lights or anything. So I always pulled my truck up right up to the house, dirt road all the way. Well, he comes out. He's like, "You need to get in the house. I think there's a wolf out here." And I'm like, I literally laughed to my husband. Okay. And I'm like, "We don't have wolves. This is Texas. I don't think we have any wolves in Texas. If we did, it'd be on the news. The Rangers would be out here. We have mountain lions, panthers, stuff like that. I've seen them. I've seen bobcats, other things run across the roads. But I didn't take him seriously. He was really serious. So I was like, okay, okay. He's like, "I'm serious. I heard it howl." And I was like, "You sure it wasn't the coyotes?" Because they would come through every night almost right in the backyard between our house and the creek and then the dense woods. But there was a lot of woods, like, between us and the creek too. So, I mean, there was just so much. You can see it in the pictures. And remember, I told you I was chainsawing every single day, all day, aside from dealing with cattle guards and gates and hauling cattle and chickens and driving 7 hours this way and this and that, just all over the place. I was always chainsawing and moving stuff. It was a lot of work. So I would always hear them. Sometimes I do this at night too. I just wanted to get it done so I had less work the next day because my husband worked and my priority was my ranch. It was everything I knew. And I would hear the coyotes. I'd hear them sometimes during the day. Most of the time was at night. I know what they sound like. It's like a little pack of hyenas. I know what they look like. I used to howl at them and they would howl back. And there's a small one that used to come up to me. But anyway, so this one night he tells me this, and I'm like, nah, whatever. Well, another night we hear the coyotes go through, and I have the cell phone where I recorded this howl and took the pictures. I still have the phone, and I'm trying to get someone to get it to come on for me. So another night, I'm on the back porch relaxing with my husband, and we hear the coyotes. We howl at them, they howl back. Well, all of a sudden, you hear this loud, penetrating growl howl. And it wasn't far, but it wasn't super close. I mean, it had to be within 500 feet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It echoed off of all the trees, which was one of the things I noticed because the coyotes were howling, doing their like little thing. But this thing was like deeper, louder, just penetrating into you. You could feel the vibration of it. And as soon as I heard that, I turned to the yard and I look at my husband and he's like, "I told you." And I'm like, "Damn, that might be a wolf." I was like, "But that doesn't sound like a normal wolf." And so I howled at it because all the coyotes went quiet. They went dead silent. Every cricket, every single thing. And I'm frogs, crickets, I had them all dead. silent. And that's when it gets a little freaky.
I'm sure. Sure.
Hmm. I wasn't used to that out there. I've never heard it silent like that. And this thing howled back. And then I could hear running through the trees. And I'm like, what is it chasing the coyotes? Like, what's going on? Get the shotgun. Cause I was nervous, cause I had a daughter. My neighbors all had kids. Our cats were always hanging out on the porch, but they all started going missing. Even if they got out one time, because we started keeping them in the house, they were gone. All the chickens' necks, all the ducks' necks, everything, broken necks. All their necks were broken. Every time I brought home new chickens, next morning, dead. Dead cattle, dead calves. We could not figure out what the hell was going on. So I started putting, instead of them free ranging, I started putting on barbed wire. Something kept lifting the bar. I mean, it would be peeled. And I was using the cedar logs I was chainsawing to build all this stuff. You got to see some of these pictures. I sent you some of them actually. If you look at the one with the orbs, like that was going to be a big, huge pin. Those were like 15, 20-foot trees that I cut down to around 15 feet. And I was just going to close it all in. Well, I had temporary ones in nooks of trees with cedar posts. I was concreting in the ground. And then I trench all the way around that and run the barbed wire down. Something was pulling that up. We thought it was hogs at first, but no way. No way, not when it's 4 feet in the ground. I mean, I was frustrated, Shane.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy because there's no way a hog is rooting. I mean, and why would was a hog going to root up to go after chickens?
Well,
I mean,
see, I wanted it going around the whole top too, so nothing could get in because I did have hawks too that would constantly go and grab the wire and flap their wings and pull it. It was just ridiculous. I had CDs hanging around, owls, everything was just killing my stuff because I would incubate eggs too. So I would have like
hmm
300 to 600 eggs hatching every month. And so, I mean, I was just losing so many animals and I just couldn't take it anymore. And for a while there too, when we first moved in, I didn't have cattle. I had, someone who I put an ad out saying, okay, it's ready to have cattle now. You pay the taxes, they get to graze here for free. That's how it works. And so that came later, but it was my cattle that were getting killed. And my calves that me and my friend Candace, we would go pick up her husband, me, my husband, and her. We'd go save all these calves all the time that had like, I think it was cryptosporidium. Scours might have been another one because it makes you real sick. We all got sick, but I saved these calves, and something came in and killed them. And I got the pictures of those guys too. Now I have these calves in a pen that was connected to my bedroom window because I was so worried. And it was crazy. Their necks were snapped. I'm not kidding you. And barbed wire, something kept getting through this. Everyone kept saying it was hogs. No. And later down the road, my septic guy, my two builders, every neighbor, a shaman, everyone in town, they were all like, there's something not right. And this is from 2014 or 13, 14 to 2017. I mean, just so much bad stuff had happened and supernatural stuff. So anyways, I finally hear this howl. And then, you think of all these other things that are going on. You're like, okay. Well, one night I was over. Okay, so before it was weathered in, we had this big tent. It was a very windy night. I was so tired from chainsawing all day. I was tired from moving logs. I was tired from dealing with the dirt road and the trench, all the work. I just wanted to go to sleep, wake up, get it all done. It was the weekend. My husband was off. We didn't want to drive all the way back to Elgin where we were staying temporarily at the very beginning of the build. We were living on a farm in Elgin. And well, we set up this tent. The winds were crazy. Okay. We set up this tent. Well, this woman comes over. She's actually a shaman, but she's in like a cowboy hat. She was cute. It looked adorable. And she invited us over to hang out, eat some food, get to know each other. I said, okay. I didn't want to be rude, Shane. I was so tired. I had cots and a bed ready to go and a tent. I just wanted, and my dogs, I had my dogs, my huskies. And I was just like, you know what? It'll be okay. So I left my dogs in the tent. My daughter, husband, and I went over there. We drove over there because I did not want to walk all the way. It's like 22 more acres and through woods. Well, they had a very eclectic property as well. They had a lot of experiences that they wound up coming out about, from satanic cults to a whole bunch of other crazy experiences. But I didn't know about this at the time. Just my first time there. Well, the women were kind of clicking inside, and they were on their phones laughing. I'm just sitting there at the table all quietly. Yeah, I'm tired. I don't feel very welcomed and comfortable. So I went out to my husband outside with the other men. I was like, we were just laughing and stuff. Well, all of a sudden, I'm facing all the men. My husband, the other men, because one of his friends was there. I turn. I can feel these things, Shane. My whole life, which I wrote a whole book on, multiple books. I've published 13 books. I turn and I see two things. Okay. I see this big, tall, black entity, red eyes, black wings, pure black. And now there are houses here and it's all trees all around us. They're like dense trees. So, but you could see through, and I'm looking over at this thing, and I look back up at all the men, and nobody else is seeing this. I did tell my husband about it, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what the hell is that? Because you could feel it. You could just feel the monstrosity of doom and evil. I mean, this thing wasn't good. I know that because I saw it again in the future. But next to it was a shorter being with completely black socket eyes. And they just stood there. Because like a year or two later, I had seen it again. Okay. And what happened with that, and I don't know if this is connected, but a giant red orb, okay, was involved in that one. And I'd like to tell you about it sometime. But I had also seen an amber glowing entity that looked like a werewolf. I mean, their windows, it was above the top of their exterior windows. That night was crazy. That was another night. So there were a lot of incidences where even they saw what I saw on some occasions. But I'm trying to go in order here. So I saw this. I'm really uneasy. I'm like, something's not right about all these lands around here. Something ain't right. I was like, I'm tired. So I tell my husband, I was like, we need to go. So we go home to our ranch area, go back to the tent. We didn't want to go all the way back to Elgin. Like I said, we want to get up, start early at the crack of dawn because we want this house built. So other things happen down the road. So let's go back to the house. We're in the house. It's weathered in, you got fixtures, all that stuff. Well, my dogs were always looking out the windows. The windows, by the way, the way we built the house, everyone said it looked like a church. It had green tin roof, rock walls. I did a lot of the rock walls. I had on the inside 6 feet by 6 feet, double-sided, 30, 40-foot fireplace. That was a dream of mine. But the windows, you have like the triangular ones and then more and then more. And they came all the way down, to like a couple feet, just a couple feet off of the ground. And I had stained concrete and all that. So you could hear everything. But my dogs were always, whenever I felt something looking at me through all my windows, my bathroom windows, my bedroom windows, I was like, man, I got too many windows in this house. My dogs would notice it, and my cats, they would all be looking out the same window. I would just turn around like, oh my God. And I would tell my husband all the time, I was like, there's something watching us. And I was like, I know this sounds crazy, but I am petrified. I'm so uneasy. It's so unsettling. You can feel it. You know the difference between something watching you when it comes to these kind of creatures versus, okay, my kid's standing in the doorway watching me kind of thing, you know? Like, so my dogs would wake up in the middle of the night. I had this bed and, you know, I moved it around a lot because I kept it away from the windows at one point. I built it out of logs. It was a real cool looking bed. Again, I was trying to do something with all these logs. But I wake up and to my dog, not on the bed, total he was just completely trembling. He was fluffed up, growling viciously, looking straight out the window where these where I it was where I always felt something watching that was in the front of the house. And sometimes you could see these big red eyes out there. Sometimes they were yellow and they were glowing. There was no lights on the house on the front. There was no reflection. These things were illuminated. And I was like, "Oh my God." I couldn't handle it. I mean, I just could not handle like what I was seeing. I was just like, like that is not something I grew up with hunters. My Uncle Woody hunted every single week. Okay. I mean, a lot of my uncles, it was just all the men did. It was, there was no one knew what it was. No
Mhm.
one. And the guy, so next to me, there was a tiny little shack cabin because I know one woman wanted him gone, didn't want him in the area. This man never was not on his horse and always had his shotgun. He never came out at night. He always made comments, keep your animals inside or they'll disappear. We thought he was crazy. I mean, we thought he was eating people's animals at one point. The whole community, the whole ranching community. I'm
Hey,
not kidding.
listen, he warned you. I mean, if he warned you and you still left him out, he's going to eat him.
Yeah, well, we really did. Our animals were going missing, but we never saw him out. We always saw him right back at his little tiny cabin right before dusk. I never saw him out. I've seen the other neighbors out, never saw him out. And there was something else he said. He said, he mentioned the word monsters one time to me. He's like, be careful out here late at night. You don't know what kind of monsters are lurking around here. I mean, we just thought he was nuts. But it's like he was really, because he watched me all the time working on the ranch. So it was a little creepy. And he had this really aggressive donkey. God, that thing was mean. It was not nice. But
You
he
don't
said,
have a bad neighbor until you have one with a really aggressive donkey. Just say.
yeah, yeah, he seemed to feel real safe around that donkey. But and so on the other side of me was like it was like a little metal shack, you know, probably half the size of my office, like a mini trailer home. Never saw anyone there ever. None of the ranchers within, I'd say, oh God, 20, 30 minutes around me because everybody knew everyone. No one knew, really who it was. They said the guy lived in, I don't know if it was Dallas or Houston, but he was far. And there was one time there was someone out there. I come home again late at night. I actually it was a bridal shower that I was at. I come home this night. My husband comes running out. He's got the gun in his hand and he's like, get inside. I'm like, what now? We had already been going through a lot of stuff. Okay. And he's like, there's a guy on that property where no one's ever been, and he's shooting at the house, and it's hitting the side of the house where my bedroom and my bathroom were, where I always felt things watching me. I instantly got enraged. So I'm like, F this guy. And my husband's holding me around my waist. I'm fighting. I'm like, you let go. I'm going to say something to this mother, father. And I was like, he's not going to be shooting at my house. He's going to hit my cattle because they weren't my cattle, the big ones, the bulls, but I had a contract. I was like, he's going to hit the cattle. He's going to shoot one of us or he's going to shoot one of the dogs. And eventually I got out. I got out of my husband's arms and I ran over to that guy. He was so drunk, and the barbed wire's cutting me and him because we're in each other's faces. And then like 30 acres away, they said they could hear me screaming at him. And this guy's drunk, and he's like, F you, I'll kill you too, and all these monsters and things. You don't know what's out here. And I'm like, who are you? Do you even effing own this? I was like, don't effing shoot at my house again. I called the police. The police did nothing. They said there was nothing they could do about it.
So was that the guy that owned that property?
We don't know who it was.
Nobody
I had
knows.
a neighbor. That's a total of like 4 or 5 people. Yeah, there was like a Facebook group. No one knew who he was. No one knew anything about the person who owned that property. I mean, it was just so bizarre. I mean, it was just a lot of weird stuff. Just like, I mean, there was a guy next door, on the other side of there's a guy with the donkey who hung himself, because they were saying he couldn't handle what he was experiencing. They weren't telling me a lot of things because I had seen this. I had a dream about it. And I was like, I had a dream about a guy. I saw his boots step off of the hood of a truck and he hung himself on a tree on the road over here. There wasn't a cross up at that time. It was like weeks later, I saw these 2 cowboys hitting a cross in the ground on the side of the road. I actually put that in one of my recent videos and I talk about this. So we were thinking, well, that's kind of strange. Like what is going on? I was not liking what I was dealing with and seeing around me. Well, things escalated and the encounters got worse. So let me jump to one night. Okay, so one evening, I'm coming home again from Austin. My dog, his name was Little Wolf. He was a red Siberian Husky. My military friends in Killeen asked me to save him. My dog Diesel had just got hit by a car before we moved to the property. Little Wolf had a severed arm, a big gash. He had glued latex gloves, glued because the vet got arrested for trying to glue them together instead of doing surgery. And he was a week or 2 old. Well, anyways, I saved him. Well, by the time we're living in the house, he's full grown. I'll send you the picture of it. He's big. He's a big dog. He grew real well. I saved his arm, everything. Well, he always heard my truck coming. I mean, you get like from a mile. He could hear it. My husband always knew when I was getting close to the house because Little Wolf would be screaming. Huskies like scream. They don't really bark. And well, I'm at the gates, and I had 2 gates, and I sent you a picture of that. I had 2 gates, and I had to get out of my truck. I had to park my truck, get out of my truck, open the gates, pull my truck forward, close the gates. I had to do this before my cattle came running, but they didn't come running this time. They were always at the gates. They were not there because it used to irritate me. I had to get a BB gun sometimes and like get their butt, like to get them to move so I could get my truck through. And so their horns wouldn't scratch my truck or me. So this was very bizarre that the cattle were all at the back of the property by the house and they weren't up by me. And so I closed the gates and I turn around and I look at the pasture, because you got to turn that way to go back to the truck. And I see this massive, colossal size wolf creature thing. It was like a strawberry blonde, a very pale eyes. And they weren't small like my dogs. They were huge, pointy ears. And it was a little bit lighter here. Now it has like a mane, and that was a little bit lighter, but it was real pretty. It was actually not ugly or scary in any way. So I get in my truck and I'm like flooring it across the damn pasture. I'm like, Little Wolf, you get your damn butt back in this truck right now. I'm calling my husband. I'm like, why is Little Wolf out? He's not supposed to be out. I don't want him getting hit. My Diesel had just died from that at our farm. And I was like, where is he? Where is he? I was like, why am I looking at Little Wolf? Because for a second I did, but it was huge. And I was like, I told him, he's like, Little Wolf's in the house. What are you talking about? I was like, what? Threw the phone down. I'm going over all these things. I'm just like, the truck's like bouncing and I had to go around the well. because the ditch, we hadn't buried it in yet from all the pipeline we laid. And one time I went over that and boom, slammed the front of my truck. I'll never do that again. I thought it would make it. I had mud tires too. But yeah, so I, as I'm approaching it, there's this big bush. I had brush piles too. Okay, the brush piles are like what you burn. I bet I got some pictures. I mean, some of them were bigger than the size of my truck. Okay, I use that as a reference. This bush was half the size and probably as tall as me. So I'm like 5'4". My daughter says 5'3", but it's all right. And these things were as tall as me, these bushes, and mesquites too. I hated the mesquites, so I was always getting rid of those. But I didn't chop them all down yet. I mean, I had a lot of them, and it went into it. Oh well, let me go back a little bit. I'm going and I see, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's not my dog. What is that? What the F is that? What am I looking at? And I'm thinking this as I'm like looking at it, and I stop my truck. It stops. I mean, it's literally looking at me the whole way. It wanted me to look at it. We're like locked eye contact. And I'm looking and it stops. I mean, the way that it moved, it was like it floated, almost glided, hovered. It was like you could see it kind of like moving as it was, because it was all four. And it was like literally as tall as my cows on all four. That's crazy. Wolves aren't even that big. And I see it and I'm like, is this thing floating? I mean, it moved so gracefully. Like it looked like it was partially floating and gliding, but moving. But at one point it stops and it turns around and it looks right at me. And I'm like, oh my God. And it like turns back at like this mesquite bush tree. I swear to God, this happened. And it like goes toward like in the tree and disappears. It like literally vanished. Okay, this isn't the first time. I got proof of this, okay? And I'm like, I'm just so confused. I'm looking around and I'm just like, what just happened? I mean, I was in a little bit of shock. I get in my truck. I'm so confused, Shane. I'm like, what just happened? I go up to the house. I talk to my husband about it. I'm like, what is going on? We just could not understand. Well, one night, I got a picture of a translucent manifesting right in front of me, hideous dog face. No body, the head, only the head. I've never been able to make sense of this. I've written books about it. I'm like, what kind of demon is this? So one night, activity is really, really bad. This was 2017 in the end. Okay. There's a whole lot of stuff that happened leading up to this. I'm talking maggots manifesting and just dropping in front of us. My husband one night, oh, the smell. Oh, I got to tell you about the smell first. Hold on. Let me tell you about this because this happened beforehand. So something kept, oh man, a lot of bad things kept happening. Something kept upsetting Little Wolf every night. He was screaming out the window every night. But one night, okay, one evening, my husband gets home from work from Austin. I'm done with working on the ranch. We're tired. We're stressed out. We don't want to renovate, build. We go to the back porch. It was completely open. It's just big, huge beams, cedar post beams. Okay. This is before I started putting up lattice and wire because of the fear. So I sit in my husband's lap. We want to have a little glass of bourbon. All right. So my husband and I are sitting on the porch. We're uneasy. Now, keep in mind, please, a lot of otherworldly, diabolical experiences led up to this evening. So remember 2014 to 2017. So we're sitting there. We don't even take a sip of our bourbon yet. We're sitting there in like a little tiny foldable chair. I'm in his lap. The sun is to the right, and it's just right at the horizon of the tree. So it's still bright. It's hot. You can hear, all the birds that do the thing before they go to sleep and all the crickets. I always love the crickets. All of a sudden, that stopped. Dead silent. This was like a pattern. Dead silent. But we didn't notice it at first. Well, my husband and I are talking about for like 5 minutes, okay, if that, our experiences and how we were so oppressed from just otherworldly diabolical activity at this point, which is another time, but to talk about. But as we're talking about it, I swear to God, okay, remember my husband was a complete skeptic of this stuff, okay, until recent years. We both hear with our eardrums what sounded like a little girl's music box. You wind it up, and that music that would come out of those old jewelry boxes. We look at each other, because I look at him. I'm like, "Do you hear that?" I'm thinking, "Do you hear that?" He asked me first before I said it, because he wasn't really believing me on a lot of other stuff that was happening, because he wasn't home a lot, and you could tell he was uneasy as the years went by, because it was every week. Every week we had stuff. So he stands up, he looks around, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Do you hear that?" I was like, "You hear that too?" I was just so relieved that he could finally experience something with me. And he's like, "Yeah." He starts looking around the house, around the porch. He goes into the trees. He's like, "Someone's got to have been out here, left something out here." Scarlett Bell, our daughter, she didn't have any of those like kind of things. She played with sticks and stones and, ran around with the chickens. She had a kiddie pool with her little ducks, our baby ducks would get in. She had some toys, but she was always outside with me. So, she had little things, but, and a lot of toys, but she never had one of those little music jewelry boxes. We couldn't figure it out. We never, still to this day, we don't know what that was. Residual, phantom, who knows. Right after that, okay, right after he's just like, I don't know. Because he really thought somebody had trespassed and left something there. We smell, and I remember I'm feeling something bad is near us. And again, over in the same spot where I got the pictures, it was always over there in the same spot by my bedroom and bathroom windows. And I'm like, we start walking out there, and it's like you walk through bubbles. I swear to God, okay, I'm telling you the truth. We're walking from the porch. He's a little bit in front of me. And I'm like, "Whoa, do you smell that?" It smelled like a dead body. It smelled like rotten eggs. It smelled like sulfur. I gagged a few times, but it was weird. So when you're walking, my husband noticed this too. And that's when I really felt relieved and validated. It's like you would walk through hot bubbles bigger than a basketball. Okay. You would walk through it and you would smell it in these bubbles. You couldn't see nothing. And the temperature was different, and you could only smell it like you were literally walking through a translucent bubble.
And then you'd walk through it and get rid of the smell.
Right. And we went all the way through, just around the perimeter of the backyard area, not all the way to the creek, all the way over to the septic tank. Nothing by the septic tank. This was only right across from where we were sitting. And I had also built a rock fireplace on the back porch as well. And so we were on kind of like the right side. You could see the sun. It was very bizarre, because later, down the road, I got a picture of a child's spirit. You could see my cat through the face. I mean, it was insane. Well, and that was the same night that I documented this Dogman. So one night, this is 2017. I'm just going to fast forward. This is when things were tense. I'm talking tense. We're all sleeping in the same room. We don't sleep by the windows. Um, we're seeing, like, I was seeing black winged, red eyed creatures. I don't know if it's Mothman. I don't know if it was a fallen angel. This thing was always standing out in the woods looking at the house. I was seeing spirits. My neighbor's kids were seeing them. Oh my God, there was so much stuff happening. My daughter, because one day my daughter and I were packing in the house, and this was right around the exact same time. We're packing up our clothes in these boxes, and we hear a little girl go, like giggling, going through. And my little girl, okay, she's a little girl at the time in like first grade, and she's like, Mommy, did you hear that? I was like, yes, I did. You heard that too. I was like, it's gonna be okay. Oh, it's just some little ghost or something. But it didn't laugh. It had a sinister laugh. It was evil. Okay. It wasn't good. My daughter still to this day, and she's almost 17, she still remembers that. She remembers a lot of things from that house. But one night it was just so bad. I was just mad. And my husband's like trying to get me to I just go, I knew it was out there. I knew that this wolf creature thing was out there. And I go out there and I go through the cattle because they were all up, like they would run from the pasture for no reason, especially when it was tall. And because my mower broke, everything broke. My brand new John Deere mowers were breaking. I wrote about that. Our brand new four wheelers, brand new Ford F-250 Super Duty. The batteries were dying every month, dead. Nobody could explain any of these things. I take my truck in, I take my four wheelers in, I take my my lawnmower in, any other equipment we had, which I talk about, things were turning on by themselves. You know, no one could explain it. And a lot of the times the four wheelers wouldn't start, but we'd push them up on my trailer. We'd take them off the property all the way over to the guy we bought them from. They would start. And he was just, everyone all kept making the comment, maybe your land is cursed, which I've recently documented that it is. So anyway, just like so much was going wrong. The truck was always dead. I had two batteries in my truck. It was just brand new battery. Week later, dead. Take it in. He's like, it's got a full charge. Yeah, I'm like, because I call my buddies, or my husband's Tundra would be fine. I was like, what is going on? And this was every month for years. I mean, that is very stressful. So one night I had had enough. I could feel these beings. I was seeing lights out there. I'm like, what is that? I just go out there and I'm cussing and I'm like, get off my property. Get the hell out of here. You leave my family alone. You leave us alone. I mean, I was just livid. My husband's like, I remember this very clearly, this particular moment. Behind the house, behind the trees, you could see a little bit of light from the Christmas lights on the back porch that we put up. It's dark. Okay, I see my longhorns. All the cows are in a straight line. It was very weird just watching us, you know? And my husband, he grabbed me. He's like, we need to go back to the house. It does not feel safe out here. I go back with him. I'm still yelling. I'm like, you damn thing, you better go back to hell where you belong, all this stuff. All of a sudden, it gets dead silent. All the cows leave the area. They go all the way back down to the pasture. Okay. Dead. And this was a different kind of silence, Shane. This silence, I don't know how to describe this. The feeling, I mean, it's like you went to a different dimension. It's worse than being deaf. Okay. And I had friends who were deaf. We did sign language. It it was like a void of silence. There was just nothing like it. I mean, closest thing I can remember to this kind of silence was when I died while I was pregnant. Okay, and that's another thing. But anyway, my husband's inside, our daughter's asleep in the bed. My husband's inside. He was doing some kind of dishes. And I'm out there by myself. And I remember I even pulled out the Bible at one point. I was so scared and I was like reading from it. I was like, you're not welcome here. You need to leave. Dead silent. Well, at one point I walked out there by myself. I remembered what I heard about Lorraine Warren. I met the family at that point, I started talking to the family that year, and Ed wasn't around. I talked to Tony Sparrow. Well, she said, take a picture with a flash because she had the gifts. I can feel them. I know exactly where they are. I know if they're good or evil. No doubt. I know. I can feel so much. I know exactly where they are, even if I can't see them. Well, I started taking pictures of all these different entities. Okay. One was a spirit. So there's this tree. Okay. I got a picture of the Dogman on this side, my electricity poles behind it. On the other side, before I got the final picture of this, I took a picture of this ghost. It's standing there by the tree, like it was warning me, like it was like, go back over to the house. That's what I was getting. It was very angelic. So I walked back over to the house. As I'm walking back to the house, I look up to the right side. Now, remember, to my right is where this tree is. I'm right in front of where I'm about to see this dog man. I'm like, oh, like I knew something was wrong. It's like it was getting worse, the doom and the dread. It was horrible. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, there's something right there. Take a picture. There's a levitating being floating. It's got hair to here. You see the whole face. I'm like, oh my gosh. And when I see it, again, I get telepathically, you're not safe. Get closer to the house. So this time I got one tree in the middle of the yard. Okay. I get past that tree and between this tree and the porch, turn around. I hear hooting. I'm like, oh, it's dead silent. And that I all heard it like hoot, hoot. And I look and I see something in light. Take the picture. It's a translucent owl in the picture with a streak of light. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh man, finally.
And that's
All of
it.
it.
And that's the one that you sent. You sent me that.
I
And
sent you all of this. Yeah.
I mean that that is that is that has the creepiest looking whatever it is in that tree.
Oh,
And that is the creepiest look. I mean, of all the pictures, that's the one that just is like, holy smokes, that is something's right there. And it's just like you describe it. I'm like, okay.
yeah, you could see the owl. You could see the face, the
Hmm.
wings,
Yeah.
the little like pointed ears, like that I think it has, or the whole outline. Well, and that's the thing about owls is that there are omens of clarity, being able to see the truth of it in front of you, of good and bad. Even goddess I think it was Aphrodite, she had one next to her that showed her truth and wisdom of the unseen, something like that. And tribes and stuff. There's a lot of stuff I did write about that in the blog and the books. So this happens. I get a sense of peace and a very angelic feeling, but then boom, all of a sudden, it was there. It was there. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, be brave. I'm literally, be brave, pray, pray, pray. I'm praying. I'm like, be brave. So I turn and I start walking towards it. Okay, I can feel fear. I can feel danger. I know I'm not safe, but I'm also being guided by something that is ethereal in nature. It's angelic. They feel completely different, and they're like on each side of me, which I got pictures of these glowing things. So I start going, and I hear angels say, "Stop, take the picture." I take it, flashes on. As I'm walking, I see this like silver, like it's not like a portal or something. It was a silver circular manifestation with the face in it. And I don't mean like our face. It had eyes, it had shark teeth, like a shark. It had huge cheeks, like a like a demonic, literature photo, something like that, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. It had these pointy. very pointy ears. It was almost like the old school werewolves, with more of the round, not the long snouts. It had a snout, okay, but it was more like out there. It wasn't like the other one I saw after this. And there was no color. It was completely solid gray silver, and you can see this in the picture. And it's looking right at me. I mean, this thing wanted me to see it. It's looking right at me. And I mean, I'm like, like I'm trembling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just trying to get the damn picture. And because my husband wasn't believing me for a few years on things until his very few encounters or experiences, this lycanthrope stuff was nowhere near the vicinity of my mind. I'm thinking demon. Okay. That's what it felt like. I have had experiences growing up with these things, but I saw it. And nobody, there was no vessel to this thing. And it wasn't the flesh and blood ones that I've seen prior, which one I forgot to mention. And then the one I see in Colorado after this. This one was, you could see it. You could see it in the picture. You can see it. And you, the smell was pretty bad. You could smell that smell again. And there was something else over to the left that I got. Well, I had another picture. This one is on the phone. I wish. I remember us looking at. We were so scared. We would get so much anxiety and tremble so much looking at these pictures that we got a new phone when we sold the house that same year. I mean, it was only like within 6 months that we sold this house, and it wasn't even completed all the way. So this happened. I run inside. I see it because I took it, and I'm like, when I saw it in on the phone, when I saw its face, my heart started pounding. And I mean, it was pure terror, Shane. It was pure terror. And you can see it looking, and it's like this. Like it's looking at me. It wasn't like this. It was like this, and it was looking right at me. And you can see it because you can see its head tilted. It like turned, and it was grinning. It's grinning in the damn picture. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh, and this is before I even get to the back door. And I run in, I'm like, babe, 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 I got it on camera. He's doing the dishes. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Like this is like, I'm like, look, I'm shaking really bad. I'm like shaking right now. And he looks at it. He's so quiet. He does the dishes and I was like, please, do you see it? Please tell me if you see it. He's like, baby, I see something. And that's when I go and I email Tony Spera and Judy Spera, Ed and Lorraine Warren's family. They look at the pictures. He gets back to me that night. I still have the emails. He's like, you need to have the land blessed immediately, and all the animals, and you and your family. I sent it the next day because it was just weighing heavy on me. We never told anyone about our experiences. No one, we didn't want people to think we were crazy. All right. So the next day, or at least within that week, I'm looking at it and I'm looking at it and I'm really going to like a different kind of psychological place, like epiphany. Like what? Everything's starting to add up. And this is, 2017, 2014 to 2017. Well, I text the photo to my mother-in-law. She lives at our lake house, which is in Burnett, Texas. They've had some strange stuff go on out there. I found some stuff in the houses about werewolves with the people who died and the property. Everything had to be sold. That's another story. But so I'm almost done here. But I say, go into a dark room, turn your screen down just a little bit, put a blanket over your head because you don't want any glares. And I was like, look at the picture. I was like, do you see anything in this picture? And it was all through text. She's like, well, it's kind of hard to see, but that's the most hideous dog face I've ever seen. And she's like, what is that? Like, and she's telling me this. and I'm like, I didn't even say anything to her. I didn't know how. I tell my husband when he gets home from Austin, and I'm like, your mom sees it. She sees it too. She sees it. She sees it. And I'm like, okay, so everyone's seeing this. I I didn't know what to do at that point. Anyways, a whole bunch of other scary stuff started happening to us. Fast forward, we'll talk about this another time, but fast forward, the last time I saw a werewolf dogman thing. So this one had a whole nother thing. So I sent you pictures. It was our second home in Colorado. First one, we had to leave. We lived on the side of a mountain. I have a picture, okay, of this big angel winged being standing next to me. That's when I first started to learn how to document the spirits that I was telepathically getting all this angelic stuff from, all of these visions, all this stuff. They told me to find these recorders. So I found these recorders. But right before, I was like, on the side of a mountain. I've got this big, like furry cape thing on. I bend down. I'm like, take the picture, baby. My husband takes the picture, and there's this big light being with tucked back wings. And this whole journey started for me. And I said, I'm going to find answers. A man was brutally attacked by some kind of dog creature, according to the nurse that lived next to us in this first house we lived in Colorado. My truck couldn't even get up this mountain with the ice. We had to park my truck, the U-Haul, the trailer in this apartment complex down the mountain and walk up. So there was a lot of weird stuff out there too. Well, anyways, we wound up breaking the lease there. We just left because it was horrible. We moved to this cabin in Conifer, Colorado. And I mean, we're like up on this mountain, the little schools there. When it snowed, we didn't leave. So on the mountain, you have the cabin. I sent you all the pictures of this. And then you have kind of like a hill up to a garage. That's where I was building my tiny home because I was always doing carpentry. I needed something to get my mind and cope. I coped by building stuff, and I did it by myself unless I needed my husband's help to lift stuff. And I homeschooled my daughter. Well, one day down at the cabin, it's a very tiny cabin. My daughter looks at me. Okay, we're on the deck. And I'm like, what are you doing, honey? And she's like, Mommy, there's a big black wolf up there. It's huge. And she's telling me this. And she's like, it's disappearing. It's disappearing in the trees. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look up, and I sent you a picture of those stairs. I look up, and, there's trees around the garage. And I see this massive, it looked like the Egyptian dog, like a black German shepherd. It was black. Its tail had some kind of weird tipped color again, almost like it wasn't silver. It wasn't like blonde. It was like weird champagne pearl, really interesting color, but it was black everywhere else. And it was walking into the trees, half of its body turned clear, translucent. And I'm like, and then it just disappears. And I'm like, what the F? I'm literally just at my wits' ends with this stuff. Well, then I started documenting on all these devices, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 devices that people were sending to me, some that I bought, voice recorders, Wendigo. I didn't know what a Wendigo was. The only thing I knew about Wendigos was that show Charmed, and it looks like a werewolf, but I did some research, and it's some kind of creatures in the mountains. At that time, that's all I knew. So after these seance sessions, EVP sessions, whatever you want to call it, like of communicating with these spirits that I was seeing all the time and dealing with, I went outside with my husband, and it's pitch black at night. Same night. We take pictures on all sides of the cabin. Okay. On the back side, the darkest side, all woods, go straight up to a mountain. In the picture, there's one picture. It looks like, what's his, Thoth or something? The black German shepherd looking Egyptian god. Above me but bigger than me. It makes no sense to me. In the picture, you got the glowing, like gold yellow eyes. You can see these. It's not like this, though, the ears. They're more like this, kind of like this way a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's slightly turned. It's not full. It's slightly turned, and you see the snout and the sucking of the cheeks, the snout, and you see the dog nose, and it's black, but it's like shiny, and it's not in the picture before it or after it. I screenshotted everything. No one ever believed me. No one ever believed me, and it's not as clear as the Devil House Dogman looking translucent one. It's black. I don't know if it was floating. I don't know if it was up in a tree. I don't know if it was like a spirit. Because it's so big in the picture. You can see the trees. You can see me. I mean, I'm
Mm.
here, it's like way up there. My hair was blonde at the time, so you could see me perfectly clear in the picture. You can see it. We were looking at it in bed last night. My husband was just like, he's like, I could see it. My friends, I'm sending it to them. They're like, we see it. And I'm like, what is it? What is this? And a lot happened after that. That led me to Palmyra, Maine.
Well, for everybody that's been listening and heard us mention the uh, the Devil House, the Devil House is something that we're going to have you back on to talk about because I have a feeling that the stuff that you were experiencing probably had direct ties to that, you
Well, there
know?
were aliens, UFOs. I have pictures of those. Um, the fact that there's just all the black wing, red eyed creatures. I traveled 48 states living in my truck. I would sleep in my truck, side of the road. I'd help other people, and I would do these sessions and follow where these spirits said to go. And they've taught me a lot. You've heard them speak.
Is your last name Winchester? Are you the sister to the Winchester brothers?
Oh, that's pretty cool. I tell you what, I used to be just as miserable as him living in my truck in my diesel gooping up in freezing temperatures, blizzards, cyclone bombs. You got to see the footage. Cyclone bombs, blizzards, rock falls, hurricanes, fires. I mean,
as long as you stopped off for pie every now and then, that's all that
I was
matters.
just eating a pecan pie tonight, going over the world. I swear to God.
Holy smokes. Well, Amelia, won't you tell everybody where they can find you? Because, like I said, we're going to have you back on to talk about the Devil House. But if people want to go ahead and start digging into all your stuff, where they can find you, we'll put a link on Instagram and a link to your YouTube. But tell everybody who's listening where they can find you.
Okay, so I have a website, paranormalprofessional.com. Something I made back in 2019 when I wanted to put more of this out there. I also published my first book then. So on the website, there's a blog. So you can actually read the chapter
Mm.
specific, The Devil House, for free. If you want to read the whole book, which is cross country things, multiple states with evidence and transcripts of the otherworldly beings I documented speaking, that is still public on my YouTube. All the books are on the website. You click the button, takes you right there. Haunted America, Demon and Ghost Stories, Volume 1 has the Devil House in it and on the cover. And then my YouTube is Emilia Bussey X Files. I do have social media. If you're interested, I'm Emilia Bussey on Facebook. It's in my link tree, which is
And
also
and Bu- and Bussy spelled Busse.
right. Emilia, B as in boy, USSE. Yeah,
Yep.
Bussey.
Yep.
And then I have Cauldron Parlor Instagram, and I have Emilia Bussey Files Instagram, and then Haunted Parlor on TikTok. So
And I think you have way more time than me because for you to keep track of all this stuff, it's got to be it's
one
got
woman know.
Yes. Well, Amelia, thank you for making the time to come on and just start the telling us about the journey that you have had. And I think people once they start going down the rabbit hole and reading some of the stuff that you have documented, it's going to blow their minds. But I think the main thing is that you have not lost your marbles and you've stuck in there and kind of like taken control over what is happening, even though you may not have always understood it. But I'm glad that you got the best of it so far. I think you've got the best of it. But I mean, listen, you're talking about these things happening, and we just my wife and I just finished on Netflix. It's called, like, is it True Haunting or Real Haunting or whatever? It's like a 5 6 like, it's the same stuff. Like, these people get in these situations
Mhm.
and they're just helpless and they can't get out. Like, the first one was a college student at his dorm, and the next one was this couple that bought this house. And when you hear, like, I'm to the point where, like, if this stuff is happening, I'm moving, like, I'm out.
Right.
But
You can't always move. That's
some people can't, and you got to face what's going on. Like, I would imagine my wife is like, don't even talk about this stuff in my office because I don't uh, so, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you, documenting it and sharing it and coming on and talking about it. And I'm looking forward to the next time we can get together and talk about the Devil House. Holy smokes!
yeah, there's a lot more to that. And I really think one of the other times that I saw this werewolf thing, I got to tell you these things. I mean, other people saw these things, but I'm really grateful. I searched for answers for a long time in other people. And, the paranormal community is great and all, but they weren't the kindest to me. And there's a lot of competition, and it's a
Hmm.
different world than the cryptid world. And I didn't know about the cryptid world until literally the past few months.
Yeah, it's a. There's some really good people, and then there's some people that aren't the friendliest for some reason. So, but anybody that's not watching on YouTube, come check out the YouTube channel and see the werewolf sitting behind you on the couch here.
Oh, I've had that for years. I didn't steal it. I actually bought this at the Devil House.
Oh gosh.
I'm
Okay.
not kidding. It's so weathered and old. It's in some of the pictures in the cabin.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Well, people keep offering me money. How much you want for that every year out here in Massachusetts, where I live now? And then someone was trying to steal it. So now I just leave it in here in my attic. And my attic is actually like this big, massive area. I'm posting that on YouTube tomorrow. That's like my cryptic headquarters because I have so much stuff from my trips in here. I'm running out of space. 48 states, a lot. I've seen a lot. I've documented a lot, but I've never felt safe. I've or like I feel safe now finding you, Daryl Denton, Martin Groves, these communities. Yeah, I've never experienced such a safe community in an otherworldly kind of, genre. It's been a horrible ride for me. And that's why I started doing it on my own. And I'm an amateur making the videos, but I just put it all in there and I'm like, here, the evidence is the important part.
Hmm.
And that's really what matters. And obviously supporting each other. And I tell you what, I'm going to LBL, Land Between the Lakes. My husband and I, we got a bonus coming in December. And I'm hoping to God, Daryl Denton and or Martin Groves will meet me there. So
Well, wait to hear about it because that's one place I am not going. I could,
you
I
really
could.
wouldn't go, Shane?
No, no, I would not go. Even though all my affairs are in order, I am not going to. I've heard too much stuff. I mean, I probably would go at some point, but I just think it's much safer to sit here behind my desk and talk to everybody else who does go.
My husband says that too, but he said he'd go with me this year because he went with me a few times, but 48 states every month. I mean, he went like maybe twice a year out of 12 months. So that's
Oh,
because he
boy.
worked too. So, and I mean, this is what I do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming and stopping by and hanging out. And look, can't wait to talk about the Devil House.
Sounds good, Shane.
S-
I appreciate it.
Stay safe. Okay.
Blessings.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
God only knows what's hiding